Welcome to World Numismatic Finds, where today we explore the top 3 rare coins from the fascinating world of UK 50 pence pieces. In this edition, we're taking a closer look at 3 standout years: the 1969 50p in shiny condition, the 1979 50p in dilapidated condition, and the 1997 50p in fine condition. Each of these coins tells a unique story of Britain's decimal currency history, from the early days of the 7-sided 50 pence introduced under Queen Elizabeth II to the later large-type issues that collectors still search for today. Whether brightly preserved, gently worn, or heavily circulated, these coins offer intriguing insights into rarity, condition, and collector demand. So let's dive in and discover what makes these 3 50p pieces so special. Let's get started up with the UK 50 pence coin from 1979, even in a dilapidated or heavily worn condition. Now many people assume that if a coin looks scratched, faded, or tired, it automatically loses all of its appeal. But that is not always the case. In fact, some worn examples carry stories in every mark and can still attract serious attention in the collector's market. So if you have a 1979 50 pence piece tucked away in a drawer, especially one that has clearly seen decades of circulation, you may want to listen very carefully. The 1979 50p was issued during the reign of Queen Elizabeth II and features her portrait on the obverse, created by Arnold Machin. This particular portrait, often referred to as the Machin portrait, became one of the most recognizable images in British numismatic history. On the reverse, the coin displays the iconic seated figure of Britannia holding a trident, designed by Christopher Ironside. Britannia has long symbolized Britain's strength and maritime heritage, and her presence on the 50p connects modern decimal coinage with centuries of national identity. The 50 pence denomination itself was first introduced in 1969 as part of the United Kingdom's move towards decimalization. By 1979, it had already become a familiar and widely used coin throughout the country. The distinctive 7-sided shape was not only visually unique but also practical, making it easily recognizable by touch. Even today, that shape remains one of the most innovative designs in global coinage. In terms of physical specifications, the 1979 50p weighs 13.5 grams and is made from copper nickel. It measures 30 millimeters across and has a thickness of approximately 2.5 millimeters. These early large-format 50p coins, minted before the smaller version was introduced in 1997, are noticeably heavier and more substantial in the hand. When you hold one, even in worn condition, you can immediately feel that solid British craftsmanship. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where things become especially interesting. A dilapidated 1979 50p may show significant wear. The high points of Britannia's figure might be flattened, the trident could appear faint, and the Queen's portrait may have softened details. There may be scratches, discoloration, or edge knocks from years of use. However, while heavy wear reduces the premium compared to uncirculated examples, it does not automatically eliminate value. Age, mintage figures, and collector demand all play an important role. The year 1979 was a significant one in British history. It marked the beginning of a new political era with the election of Margaret Thatcher as Prime Minister. Coins from this year circulated during a transformative period for the UK economy and society. For many collectors, owning a 1979 coin is like holding a small metallic snapshot of that historic moment. Cultural and historical context can elevate even common coins in the eyes of enthusiasts. When discussing rarity, it's important to understand that the 1979 50p was not originally considered rare in terms of mintage. Millions were struck for circulation. However, over time, coins are lost, melted, damaged, or permanently removed from circulation. Finding examples in extremely high grades is becoming increasingly challenging. While a heavily worn coin is more common than a mint-state example, collectors building date runs still seek out decent examples from each year, including 1979. Now here is the part that many viewers are most curious about: the current market value in dollars. In heavily circulated or dilapidated condition, a typical 1979 UK 50p might realistically sell for around $1 to $5, depending on demand and eye appeal. That would be approximately $1 to $5 in numerical terms, $1 to $5. However, there are online listings where sellers attempt to market these coins for dramatically inflated prices, sometimes claiming values of $2,000, $5,000, or even $10,000. You may see figures written as $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000 in bold, attention-grabbing advertisements. These are not typical realized sale prices for worn standard circulation coins, but rather speculative or exaggerated asking prices. It is always important to distinguish between genuine market value and hopeful listings. That said, demand for large pre-1997 50p coins has grown steadily, especially among younger collectors and those nostalgic for the heavier design. Some buyers simply prefer the larger format, and complete date sets of the original large 50p series continue to be assembled. If a dilapidated 1979 example still has clear date numerals and recognizable design features, it can absolutely find a buyer. Presentation matters as well. Even a worn coin stored carefully and described honestly can attract positive attention. For collectors, the best approach is patience and knowledge. Examine the edge for damage, ensure the date is clear, and compare your coin with verified sold listings rather than just high asking prices. Keep the coin dry and avoid harsh cleaning, as cleaning can further reduce its desirability. Even in worn condition, originality is valued far more than artificial shine. What makes the 1979 50p truly appealing is not just its metal content or its immediate monetary worth, but the story it carries. It passed through countless hands during a defining era of modern Britain. It may have been used in markets, shops, and buses across the country. Every scratch is a trace of real history. For many collectors, that lived experience adds charm rather than detracts from it. In a positive light, the 1979 UK 50p coin remains a strong and steady piece of British numismatic heritage. While a dilapidated example will not usually command thousands of dollars despite some bold online claims, it still holds collector interest and historical value. Whether worth $3, $10, or simply face value, it represents a tangible link to Britain in 1979. And in the world of coin collecting, sometimes the true value lies not only in price, but in the pride of ownership and the connection to history. At number 2, the 1997 UK 50p coin in fine condition. At first glance, it may look like an ordinary piece of change, but for serious coin enthusiasts, this particular year marks a significant moment in British numismatic history. If you have one tucked away in a drawer, coin jar, or old purse, you may be holding a coin that commands surprising attention in today's collector's market. The year 1997 was a turning point for the 50p piece. It was the final year before the major size reduction of the 50p coin that came into circulation in 1997. Prior to this change, the larger 50p design, first introduced in 1969, was still being struck. In 1997, both the larger and the newly reduced versions were produced, making this year particularly interesting for collectors who appreciate transition issues. The coin carries the portrait of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse, designed by Raphael Maklauf for earlier issues and by Ian Rank Broadley for the newer portrait introduced in 1998, depending on the exact type. On the reverse, the classic seated Britannia design appears on many 1997 pieces, a symbol that has represented Britain's strength and maritime heritage for centuries. Culturally and historically, the 50p coin holds a special place in British life. It was the world's first seven-sided coin when it debuted in 1969, reflecting the United Kingdom's move towards decimalization. By 1997, Britain was undergoing significant change, politically and socially, and coins from this era are often seen as tangible reminders of the late 20th century. The 50p was widely used in daily transactions, making high-quality preserved examples increasingly sought after today. Many were heavily circulated, so finding one from 1997 in fine condition is becoming more desirable as time passes. The larger 1997 50p coin weighs approximately 13.5 grams and is composed of cupronickel, giving it that familiar silver appearance. Its distinctive heptagonal shape is not just visually unique but also practical, designed to be easily recognized by touch. The diameter measures around 30 mm for the larger type, making it noticeably bigger than the post-reduction version introduced later that same year, which weighs 8.0 grams. This transitional period adds another layer of intrigue and collectability. In terms of key facts, the 1997 50p is remembered for being both the end of an era and the beginning of a new chapter in British coinage. The larger version saw its final minting that year, while the smaller version marked the future direction of circulating coinage. Mintage figures for the larger type were substantial because they were intended for circulation, yet the number surviving in attractive fine condition continues to shrink as coins are lost, damaged, or worn down over decades of use. When discussing rarity and condition, It is important to understand that fine condition means the coin shows moderate wear but retains clear details. The portrait, lettering, and Britannia design should remain sharp, though some high points may be slightly flattened. In today's competitive collector's environment, even fine-condition coins from significant transitional years like 1997 can attract impressive attention. While standard circulated examples may only achieve modest prices, well-preserved pieces from the larger final issue type can sometimes reach dramatic asking prices online. Now let's talk about market value in dollars, which is what many international collectors want to know. In general, a typical 1997 large 50p in fine condition might realistically trade between $3 and $15 depending on demand and presentation. However, in the online marketplace, it is not uncommon to see ambitious listings claiming values of $1,500, $2,000, or even $5,000, particularly if sellers promote the coin as rare or transitional. That means you may encounter listings showing prices such as $1,500, $2,750, or $5,000, although actual completed sales at those levels are far less common. The excitement around transitional coins and the nostalgia attached to late 1990s British currency often fuels these high expectations. For collectors, the most important advice is to focus on authenticity and preservation. Always check the weight carefully to determine whether you have the larger pre-reduction coin or the smaller post-reduction version. Examine the edges for excessive damage and ensure the date is clear and untampered. Storing the coin in a protective holder can help prevent further wear and maintain its appeal. Coins connected to significant design transitions tend to gain stronger followings over time, and patient collectors often benefit the most. As interest in modern British coinage continues to rise, especially among younger collectors discovering decimal coins for the first time, the 1997 50 pence stands out as a memorable piece of change from a pivotal year. Its unique position at the crossroads of old and new designs keeps demand alive, particularly for examples that remain in respectable condition decades later. In conclusion, the 1997 UK 50 pence coin in fine condition represents far more than its face value. It symbolizes the closing chapter of the larger 50p era and the beginning of a new generation of British coinage. Whether valued at a modest few dollars or marketed at eye-catching figures in the thousands, its true worth lies in its historical importance and the continued enthusiasm it inspires among collectors. If you happen to own one, take a closer look. You might just be holding a small but meaningful piece of Britain's numismatic story that continues to grow in demand year after year. At number 3, the iconic 1969 UK 50 pence coin in shiny condition. For many collectors across Britain and beyond, this coin represents far more than just 50 pence. It symbolizes a turning point in the nation's monetary system and stands as one of the most recognizable coins ever issued by the Royal Mint. If you have one of these coins tucked away in brilliant glossy condition, you may be holding a highly desirable collectible that continues to attract strong demand in today's market. The 1969 50 pence piece was introduced during a period of significant change in British currency. Britain was preparing for decimalisation, which would officially take place in 1971. Instead of the traditional round design, the 50p was struck as a distinctive seven-sided coin, technically known as an equilateral curve heptagon. This unusual shape was chosen to make it instantly recognizable by touch and sight. It was modern, innovative, and ahead of its time. The introduction of this denomination marked a bold step forward, reflecting a nation adapting to a new economic era. On the obverse of the 1969 coin, you will find the elegant portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This youthful effigy is often admired by collectors for its classical beauty and fine detail. The reverse features Britannia seated beside a lion, holding a trident and olive branch, symbolizing Britain's strength and peace. This timeless design adds both cultural and historical depth to the coin, making it not only a piece of currency but a small work of art representing national identity. In terms of physical characteristics, the 1969 50 pence coin was struck in cupronickel. It has a weight of approximately 13.5 grams and a diameter of 30 millimeters measured across flats. Its substantial feel in the hand gives it a premium presence compared to many modern circulating coins. In shiny, well-preserved condition, the luster of the metal truly enhances its appeal, reflecting light beautifully and highlighting every detail of Britannia and the Queen's portrait. While millions of these coins were minted, condition is everything in the world of numismatics. A 1969 50 pence coin in average circulated condition may not command extraordinary sums. However, a shiny example, especially one close to uncirculated or brilliant uncirculated grade, becomes far more desirable. Collectors are constantly searching for early decimal coins in top condition, and strong demand continues to push premium pieces higher in value. Now let us talk about today's market value in dollars. In standard circulated condition, a 1969 50p might typically fetch between $2 and $8. However, in shiny, well-preserved condition with minimal wear, prices can rise significantly, often reaching $25 to $60 depending on grading and buyer interest. Exceptional specimens, particularly those kept in near-mint state for decades, have been known to achieve impressive asking prices in collector markets. Some sellers list pristine examples at $1,200, $2,500, or even $5,000, that is $1,200, $2,500, and $5,000 respectively, especially when marketed as rare early decimal treasures. While such high figures depend on condition, grading verification, and collector competition, they demonstrate the powerful perception of value surrounding this historic issue. Culturally, this coin represents Britain on the brink of transformation. It circulated just before Decimal Day in 1971 and became part of everyday life for millions. It carries memories of a different era, when prices were lower and the pound had a different structure. That emotional connection adds another layer of desirability. Coins are not just metal, they are time capsules, and the 1969 50 pence is a shining reminder of late 1960s Britain. Rarity in absolute numbers may not define this coin, but rarity in high grade certainly does. Over the decades, many examples have become scratched, dulled, or heavily worn through circulation. Finding one that still retains its original shine, crisp edges, and clear details is increasingly challenging. That scarcity in superior condition is what fuels collector interest and creates competitive demand. For collectors considering adding this coin to their collection, preservation is key. Always handle it by the edges to avoid fingerprints. Store it in a protective capsule or acid-free holder to maintain its luster. Avoid cleaning the coin, as polishing can reduce value significantly. If you believe your coin is in exceptional condition, professional grading could enhance its market appeal and credibility when selling. The 1969 UK 50 pence coin in shiny condition stands as a powerful symbol of British innovation, royal heritage, and numismatic history. Its bold seven-sided design, connection to royal mint craftsmanship, and portrait of Queen Elizabeth II combine to create a coin that continues to excite collectors. With steady demand, strong nostalgic value, and eye-catching presentation, it remains a sought-after piece in today's marketplace. If you own one of these coins in gleaming condition, you may be holding more than just spare change. You could be holding a collectible treasure with growing appeal and the potential to command impressive dollar values in the right market. For passionate collectors and investors alike, the 1969 50 pence is a shining example of how history, artistry, and condition come together to create lasting value.